The gray waters of the North Atlantic stretched endlessly in all directions as Captain Lieutenant Heinrich Mahlmann peered through the periscope of U-456 on the morning of March 17, 1943. The veteran submarine commander had prowled these same hunting grounds since the early months of the war, when German U-boats operated with virtual impunity against Allied merchant shipping. 3 years of Atlantic convoy warfare had established German submarine tactics that had sunk more than 3,500 Allied vessels, bringing Britain dangerously close to starvation and forcing the United States to implement emergency shipbuilding programs that strained American industrial capacity beyond all previous peacetime levels. Mahlmann commanded one of the most experienced crews in the German U-boat service, with 37 confirmed sinkings recorded in the patrol log of U-456 since September 1940. His boat carried the latest modifications requested by Admiral Karl Donitz, commander of the German submarine fleet, including improved diesel engines and additional torpedo storage that extended the operational range and striking power of German submarines operating in the Atlantic convoy routes. The Type VIIC submarine design had proven devastatingly effective against Allied merchant shipping, combining sufficient range for extended patrols with the speed and maneuverability necessary for successful attacks against defended convoys. Standing in the control room of U-456, Mahlmann studied intelligence reports describing the latest Atlantic convoy designated ONS-5, consisting of 43 merchant vessels escorted by British and Canadian warships. German U-boat command had deployed 18 submarines in coordinated wolf pack tactics designed to overwhelm convoy escorts through simultaneous attacks from multiple directions. The tactical doctrine developed by Admiral Donitz emphasized sustained attacks by groups of submarines that could maintain pressure on convoy defenses while individual boats conducted torpedo attacks against merchant vessels. This coordinated approach had achieved unprecedented success during 1942, when German submarines sank more than 6 million tons of Allied shipping. Oberleutnant Franz Weber, the executive officer of U-456, briefed Mahlmann on the tactical situation based on radio transmissions from other German submarines already in contact with convoy ONS-5. The Funkmeister reported intercepted radio signals indicating the presence of American escort vessels operating alongside traditional British and Canadian convoy defenders. American shipyards had begun producing destroyer escorts specifically designed for anti-submarine warfare, equipped with advanced sonar systems and depth charge weaponry that represented significant improvements over existing Allied anti-submarine capabilities. The tactical implications of American technological development were becoming apparent to experienced German submarine commanders. Chief Petty Officer Kurt Brenner, who had served aboard German submarines since the Spanish Civil War, described changes he had observed in Allied convoy tactics during recent patrol operations. British and Canadian escort vessels had traditionally operated using anti-submarine procedures developed during World War I, emphasizing visual detection and depth charge attacks based on estimated submarine positions. American destroyer escorts demonstrated tactical capabilities that suggested access to underwater detection technology, whose performance exceeded anything available to German naval forces. Allied escort vessels were locating German submarines with accuracy that exceeded traditional sonar capabilities by significant margins. The morning watch aboard U-456 detected hydrophone contacts indicating the approach of convoy ONS-5 from the southeast, approximately 12 kilometers from the current position of the German submarine. Mahlmann ordered the boat to periscope depth for visual confirmation of the convoy composition and escort disposition. The periscope observation revealed 43 merchant vessels arranged in 8 columns, protected by escort vessels whose configuration differed significantly from traditional British convoy defense patterns. American destroyer escorts operated in coordination with British corvettes and Canadian frigates using tactical procedures that emphasized systematic sonar sweeps of the ocean areas surrounding the merchant vessels. The tactical coordination between Allied escort vessels indicated communication capabilities that enabled real-time coordination of anti-submarine operations across vast ocean areas. German submarine commanders had observed improvements in Allied radio technology and tactical procedures, but the systematic nature of American destroyer escort operations suggested technological capabilities whose development had not been anticipated by German naval intelligence. American industrial capacity had apparently produced specialized anti-submarine vessels in quantities that enabled comprehensive protection of Atlantic convoy routes while maintaining sufficient reserves for offensive operations against German submarine bases. Maulman positioned U-456 for a submerged attack approach on convoy ONS-5, following tactical procedures that had proven effective against previous Allied convoys. German submarine doctrine emphasized attacks from the flanks of merchant formations, where escort vessel coverage was typically weakest and German submarines could achieve favorable firing positions against multiple targets. The tactical success of German Wolf Pack operations depended on coordinated attacks that divided escort attention between multiple threats, enabling individual submarines to penetrate convoy defensive formations and engage merchant vessels with torpedo attacks. The hydrophone operator aboard U-456 reported unusual sonar transmissions from American destroyer escorts that differed significantly from the acoustic signatures of British and Canadian anti-submarine equipment. These transmissions demonstrated range and accuracy characteristics that exceeded German estimates of Allied underwater detection capabilities by substantial margins. American sonar technology apparently enabled detection and tracking of submerged submarines at distances that rendered traditional German evasion tactics ineffective. The tactical implications of improved Allied sonar performance threatened the fundamental assumptions underlying German submarine warfare doctrine. Fregating Captain Hans Joachim Schwanke, commanding the Wolf Pack designated Gruppe Robgraf, transmitted tactical instructions for coordinated attacks against convoy ONS-5, based on reports from multiple German submarines maintaining contact with the Allied formation. The attack plan emphasized simultaneous approaches from different directions designed to overwhelm Allied escort capabilities through multiple concurrent threats. German submarines would conduct torpedo attacks against merchant vessels, while escort ships attempted to respond to submarine contacts across the entire convoy perimeter. This tactical approach had achieved devastating success against previous Allied convoys, particularly during the period known to German submariners as the Happy Time. The first indication that Allied anti-submarine capabilities had evolved beyond German expectations occurred when American destroyer escort USS Bory achieved sonar contact with U-456 at a range exceeding 6 kilometers. This detection distance exceeded the performance of German submarine detection equipment by margins that suggested fundamental advances in Allied underwater acoustics technology. American sonar operators demonstrated tracking accuracy that enabled sustained contact with German submarines despite evasive maneuvers that had previously been effective against British and Canadian escort vessels. The systematic nature of American anti-submarine operations indicated tactical training and equipment that had been specifically developed to counter German submarine warfare techniques. Maulman ordered emergency dive procedures as USS Bory approached the position of U-456 with speed and directional accuracy that indicated real-time tracking of the German submarine. The American destroyer escort maintained sonar contact throughout the German submarine's evasive maneuvers, demonstrating tracking capabilities that rendered traditional German evasion tactics obsolete. American anti-submarine equipment apparently included technological improvements that enabled sustained underwater surveillance despite the tactical countermeasures that German submarines had employed successfully against Allied forces during previous patrol operations. The technological superiority of American sonar systems represented capabilities that German naval technology could not match. The depth charge attack conducted by USS Bory demonstrated accuracy and destructive power that exceeded German estimates of Allied anti-submarine weaponry. American destroyer escorts carried depth charges whose explosive power and proximity fusing capabilities enabled effective attacks against German submarines at depths and ranges that had previously provided security from Allied anti-submarine operations. The systematic nature of American depth charge patterns indicated tactical procedures that had been developed through extensive analysis of German submarine capabilities and operational characteristics. American anti-submarine warfare represented technological and tactical evolution that threatened the effectiveness of German submarine operations throughout the Atlantic theater. Chief Petty Officer Brenner reported structural damage to U-456 from the initial American depth charge attack, including compromised hull integrity and damaged control systems that reduced the submarine's operational capabilities. The explosive power of American depth charges exceeded the destructive capacity of British and Canadian anti-submarine weapons by margins that reflected advances in explosives technology and delivery systems. German submarine construction had not anticipated the increased destructive power of American anti-submarine weapons, leaving German boats vulnerable to damage that could compromise their ability to conduct effective combat operations or return safely to base. The tactical persistence of American destroyer escort operations continued as USS Bory maintained sonar contact with U-456 throughout attempted evasion maneuvers that had previously enabled German submarines to escape from Allied anti-submarine attacks. American sonar operators demonstrated tracking capabilities that enabled continuous surveillance of German submarine movements despite underwater terrain conditions that should have provided concealment from acoustic detection systems. The systematic nature of American anti-submarine operations indicated training and equipment that had been specifically designed to counter the tactical advantages that had enabled German submarine success during the early phases of the Atlantic campaign. Oberleutnant Weber coordinated damage control operations aboard U-456 as additional American destroyer escorts joined the anti-submarine attack using coordinated tactical procedures that maximized the effectiveness of their technological advantages. American escort vessels operated in systematic patterns that provided overlapping sonar coverage while maintaining continuous pressure on the German submarine through sustained depth charge attacks. The coordination between multiple American anti-submarine vessels indicated communication capabilities and tactical doctrine that enabled real-time coordination of complex anti-submarine operations across vast ocean areas. The technological superiority of American anti-submarine equipment became apparent as additional depth charge attacks achieved accuracy that exceeded German assumptions about Allied underwater detection capabilities. American destroyer escorts demonstrated the ability to track German submarine movements with precision that enabled targeted attacks against specific areas of the submarine hull, where explosive damage would be most effective. This level of tactical accuracy suggested sonar technology whose performance characteristics exceeded German underwater detection equipment by margins that represented fundamental advances in acoustic science and electronic technology. Mahlman attempted to implement emergency surface procedures as structural damage to U-456 compromised the submarine's ability to maintain underwater operations. The German submarine's ballast systems had been damaged by American depth charge attacks, while electrical failures threatened the boat's life support and propulsion capabilities. American destroyer escorts maintained continuous sonar surveillance that prevented effective evasion maneuvers, while their superior surface speed enabled pursuit operations that could intercept German submarines attempting to escape through surface running. The tactical situation facing U-456 reflected the broader challenge confronting German submarine operations throughout the Atlantic theater. The systematic nature of American anti-submarine operations indicated tactical doctrine that had been developed through comprehensive analysis of German submarine capabilities and operational procedures. American destroyer escorts operated using standardized attack patterns that maximized the effectiveness of their technological advantages while minimizing exposure to German submarine counterattacks. The coordination between American sonar operators, weapon systems, and ship handling demonstrated training standards and equipment integration that exceeded German anti-submarine capabilities by substantial margins. American industrial capacity had apparently produced specialized anti-submarine vessels whose technological capabilities rendered traditional German submarine tactics ineffective. Chief Petty Officer Brenner transmitted emergency signals describing the tactical situation facing German submarines operating against American destroyer escorts equipped with advanced sonar systems and improved depth charge weaponry. His radio communications provided German U-boat command with detailed observations of American anti-submarine capabilities that exceeded previous intelligence estimates of Allied technological development. The systematic destruction of German submarine effectiveness by American technological superiority represented strategic implications that extended far beyond individual tactical engagements in the Atlantic convoy routes. The emergency surface of U-456 exposed the German submarine to surface gunfire from American destroyer escorts whose weapon systems included radar-directed gun mounts that provided accuracy against surface targets at ranges exceeding German submarine deck gun capabilities. American naval vessels demonstrated firepower superiority that complemented their underwater detection advantages, creating tactical conditions where German submarines could not operate effectively either submerged or surfaced. The comprehensive nature of American anti-submarine capabilities indicated technological development and industrial production that had transformed the tactical balance in Atlantic naval warfare. Mahlman observed the destruction of U-450 SIXS conning tower structure as American destroyer escort gunfire achieved accuracy that reflected radar fire control systems whose performance exceeded German naval technology. The systematic nature of American surface gunnery indicated training and equipment that had been specifically optimized for anti-submarine warfare operations. German submarine design had not anticipated the advanced fire control capabilities that American naval vessels could bring to bear against surface submarines, leaving German boats vulnerable to rapid destruction when forced to operate on the surface by depth charge damage or mechanical failures. The final radio transmission from U-456 described American anti-submarine capabilities that represented fundamental advances in naval warfare technology whose implications extended throughout the Atlantic theater. German submarines operating against American destroyer escorts faced technological disadvantages that could not be overcome through tactical innovation or operational experience. The sonar systems and depth charge weaponry employed by American anti-submarine vessels exceeded German submarine defensive capabilities by margins that made effective resistance impossible under existing technological circumstances. Oberleutnant Weber, who survived the destruction of U-456 and spent the remainder of the war in American custody, provided German naval intelligence with detailed descriptions of American anti-submarine technology that validated reports from other German submarine commanders about the evolution of Allied anti-submarine capabilities. American destroyer escorts represented technological development that had transformed Atlantic naval warfare through systematic application of advanced sonar systems, improved depth charge weaponry, and coordinated tactical procedures that maximized the effectiveness of American numerical and technological advantages. The tactical lessons learned from the destruction of U-456 and similar German submarines during March 1943 indicated that American anti-submarine capabilities had reached levels that rendered traditional German submarine warfare doctrine obsolete. Admiral Donitz received reports from surviving German submarine commanders describing American technological superiority that exceeded German naval capabilities by margins that could not be compensated through tactical innovation or operational improvements. The systematic nature of American anti-submarine success represented strategic implications that threatened the continuation of effective German submarine operations throughout the Atlantic theater. Chief Petty Officer Brenner's debriefing reports described American sonar technology, whose performance characteristics exceeded German underwater detection equipment by factors that reflected fundamental advances in acoustic science and electronic engineering. American destroyer escorts operated sonar systems that could detect, track, and engage German submarines at ranges and accuracy levels that rendered German evasion tactics ineffective. The technological superiority of American anti-submarine equipment represented industrial capabilities and scientific development that German naval forces could not match through existing technological resources. The destruction of German submarine effectiveness during the Battle of the Atlantic reflected American technological development that had been accelerated through comprehensive industrial mobilization and scientific research programs whose scope exceeded German capabilities. American shipyards produced destroyer escorts in quantities that enabled systematic coverage of Atlantic convoy routes while maintaining technological superiority through advanced sonar systems and improved anti-submarine weaponry. The systematic nature of American anti-submarine success established patterns of technological dominance that would persist throughout the remainder of the Atlantic campaign. Fregatin Captain Schwanke observed the systematic destruction of Gruppe Robgraf during attacks against convoy ONS 5. As American destroyer escorts achieved tactical success that exceeded German expectations of Allied anti-submarine capabilities. The technological and numerical advantages employed by American forces rendered German Wolf Pack tactics ineffective against convoys protected by destroyer escorts equipped with advanced sonar systems and coordinated anti-submarine procedures. German submarine operations faced technological disadvantages that could not be overcome through tactical innovation or strategic redeployment of submarine forces to areas with reduced Allied anti-submarine coverage. The strategic implications of American anti-submarine success during March 1943 extended beyond immediate tactical results achieved against individual German submarines or convoy attacks. American technological development had produced anti-submarine capabilities whose effectiveness threatened the fundamental strategic assumptions underlying German naval warfare doctrine. The systematic destruction of German submarine effectiveness by American destroyer escorts indicated technological and industrial capabilities that would enable continued expansion of Allied anti-submarine operations throughout the Atlantic theater while German submarine forces declined due to unsustainable operational losses. Captain Lieutenant Mahlmann's experience during the destruction of U-456 exemplified the broader challenge facing German submarine operations throughout the later phases of the Atlantic campaign. American technological development had produced anti-submarine capabilities that exceeded German submarine defensive systems by margins that made effective resistance impossible under existing tactical circumstances. The The sonar technology and depth-charge weaponry employed by American destroyer escorts represented technological achievements that reflected American industrial capacity and scientific development that German naval forces could not match through existing resources or capabilities. The Battle of the Atlantic reached its decisive phase during 1943 as American anti-submarine capabilities achieved technological and numerical superiority that eliminated the tactical advantages that had enabled German submarine success during the early phases of the campaign. American destroyer escorts represented technological development that had been specifically optimized for Atlantic convoy protection operations, while American industrial capacity enabled production of these specialized anti-submarine vessels in quantities that exceeded German submarine construction by substantial margins. The systematic nature of American anti-submarine success established Allied naval supremacy that would persist throughout the remainder of the war. The technological innovations demonstrated by American destroyer escorts during 1943 influenced naval warfare development throughout the post-war period, establishing patterns of anti-submarine operations that became standard practice for modern naval forces. Advanced sonar systems and coordinated tactical procedures that enabled real-time tracking and engagement of submarine targets represented technological capabilities that transformed underwater warfare. The systematic destruction of German submarine effectiveness during the Battle of the Atlantic validated American technological development that reflected comprehensive industrial mobilization and scientific research programs whose achievements exceeded German capabilities. German submarine commanders who survived encounters with American destroyer escorts provided detailed reports describing technological capabilities that represented fundamental advances in anti-submarine warfare whose implications extended throughout naval operations. American sonar technology enabled detection and tracking of submerged submarines at ranges that exceeded German defensive capabilities, while improved depth-charge weaponry provided destructive power that could eliminate German submarines despite evasive maneuvers that had previously been effective against Allied anti-submarine attacks. The comprehensive nature of American technological superiority indicated development programs that had anticipated and countered German submarine capabilities through systematic analysis and technological innovation. The legacy of American anti-submarine success during 1943 established Allied naval supremacy that enabled successful prosecution of amphibious operations throughout the European and Pacific theaters while maintaining secure supply lines between North America and Allied forces operating in distant theaters. German submarine forces never recovered from the technological and numerical disadvantages that American destroyer escorts had demonstrated during the Battle of the Atlantic, while American anti-submarine capabilities continued to expand through continued technological development and vessel production that exceeded German capacity throughout the remainder of the war. The morning of March 17, 1943 marked the beginning of German submarine operational decline that would persist throughout the remainder of the Atlantic campaign, as American technological development produced anti-submarine capabilities that rendered traditional German submarine warfare doctrine obsolete. The systematic destruction of German submarine effectiveness by American destroyer escorts equipped with advanced sonar systems and improved depth-charge weaponry established patterns of Allied technological superiority that would dominate naval operations throughout the remainder of World War II and influence naval warfare development throughout the Cold War period. Mahlman reflected during the post-war period that his encounter with American destroyer escorts represented the moment when German submarine operations encountered technological capabilities that exceeded German naval development by margins that could not be overcome through tactical innovation or operational experience. American anti-submarine technology represented industrial achievements and scientific development that reflected comprehensive mobilization of American technological resources for naval warfare applications. The systematic nature of American anti-submarine success indicated technological superiority that would persist throughout modern naval operations, establishing American naval dominance that continued throughout the remainder of the 20th century. The tactical evolution demonstrated during the Battle of the Atlantic established American anti-submarine capabilities as the decisive factor in Atlantic naval operations, ensuring Allied victory through technological superiority that enabled systematic destruction of German submarine effectiveness. American destroyer escorts represented technological achievement that reflected comprehensive industrial mobilization and scientific development whose capabilities exceeded German naval technology by margins that made effective German resistance impossible. The Battle of the Atlantic validated American technological development that would establish patterns of naval supremacy persisting throughout the post-war period.